Welcome to Coffee and Conversation. My name is Honorine, and today I'm with Cassie Kepple, who is pursuing a PhD in higher education. Welcome, Cassie, and thank you for letting me interview you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
First question, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I am Cassie. I am a second year doctoral student, about to be a third year in the higher education program here at FSU. I grew up about equally in West Virginia and Virginia, so I like to say I'm from the Virginias. I went to WVU for my bachelor's and master's degrees, and I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So why did you decide to come at FSU?
So I initially picked FSU because of the research. So I have a background in psychology, and my research supervisor, Dr. Brad Cox, works with college students with autism. And so it seemed to be a good opportunity for me to be able to use my degrees in the past to continue that and helping out our students. And then additionally, the overarching research and faculty and opportunities that FSU provides really is what drew me in.
Okay, so how did you pick the field of autism?
So that does relate back toward my psychology degrees. So I have a bachelor's in psychology, and I worked in clinical neuropsychology for a few years, which is the doctors that help diagnose disorders. And I definitely wanted to help with the kinds of co-curricular settings that really help with student success. And so I have a broad interest in student success, and college students with autism, their symptoms often affect outside of the classroom. So socialization and things like that are all really important parts of the college experience. So I wanted to kind of combine my past with helping out students how they can succeed out in both in and out of the classroom.
Okay, so do you conduct research with specific students? Like, do you follow them? So you're here for, you have 3 more years. So have you been following them for this past 2 years and continue until you graduate? Or what kind of research do you do exactly?
Yeah, so the projects that I've been mainly working on during my time here is looking at autism-specific programs that are at colleges. And so there are 85 institutions across the US who offer a program that is specifically meant to help students with autism above and beyond the accommodations that are provided by the Americans with Disabilities Act. And so not much is known about those programs. And so the projects that I've been focusing on are helping to identify them, reaching out to them, figuring out how they work and things like that. And then our next steps are to work with students who have gone through the programs or are currently in the programs, and to see what their experiences are like and how it's helped their outcomes.
How did the pandemic impact your research?
Yeah, so thankfully we're able to do a lot of the stuff online, since we are kind of looking at that broader aspect. And so we do like survey research and things like that we're able to send out. We work with a nonprofit, which is the College Autism Network, and we are helping to disseminate information from like recent articles and things like that through that network. And so we can do a lot of that digitally, which is nice, being able to do that. And it kind of expands, who we're reaching, because we're reaching people who are in other countries and things like that. So that's cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. With my advising research, it is a little different because we had to switch our class online this year. And so I've been looking at data from before we went online, but it will be interesting seeing how the pandemic affected students' opinions of the class and things like that. And then we're actually starting up focus groups again soon, and adding in a kind of a question of how are students affected by the switch to online advising and things like that, to see exactly how the pandemic has affected it. So it'll be interesting because we will be doing focus groups through Zoom rather than in person. So that does change some things, but thankfully technology is allowing us to continue doing research.
Yeah, that's great. It seems that you changed a little bit the focus of the research and you adapted, but for the best. And so when you say you're reaching out to more colleges throughout the US or throughout the world, sorry, does it mean you're thinking of, going bigger with your project, or is it just right now because that's just the way you have to?
It depends on the project. So the ones that we're working on right now with the autism specific programs, those will remain with the United States, partially due to diagnostic criteria, and the way that higher ed works in other countries is different.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is research going on across the world about students with autism, but there are contextual factors in there that can change. So that the scope of those programs are going to, or that study is going to focus more on the US context for a number of reasons. But what we are able to do through the College Autism Network, they have like monthly meetings and things like that, where scholars, practitioners, interested family members, students, like they can all come to these meetings and learn about the research going on and stuff like that. And so our hope, while we do focus on the US, our hope is that we can make this database that future students and parents and practitioners and anyone can access it for free, so that it can expand at least across different populations that way.
Yeah, that's great. And so besides research, because we've been talking only about research, how do you stay insane? No, is it insane the right word?
Same.
Sane. Okay. I'm gonna start again.
You're good.
um, so besides research, how do you stay sane in that period of craziness around COVID? Everything is
Yeah.
online. Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're good. Yeah. So I guess one good thing is having a good network of people around me. I do live with my husband, so that has helped to have another person here to talk to.
Mhm.
A lot, but we do stay active with our friend group from our undergrad. Actually, we have a pretty solid friend group that we talk to daily, and we started a book club across our friends. And so we take a poll and decide on a book, and then we meet on Zoom monthly so that we can, go over that. So that's been a lot of fun. And then I'm involved in a couple student orgs. So I've got the Fellow Society and the Higher Education Student Association. So I'm on the boards for both of those and involved in that. And so I can kind of get my planning bug out of there, because I really enjoy planning events. And so those kinds of things, I am getting through those avenues and still getting to speak to other people than my husband, which is great as well. So just really kind of trying to stay connected with people is my biggest thing, because I'm quite an extrovert, and so staying inside all day is not perfect for me.
So what does your like a typical weekday look like for you?
Yeah. So I wake up, sometimes run the Dunkin' to get a coffee. That's a little treat for staying at home, I feel like. And then depending on the day, I do 2 days a week for one of my assistantships and 2 days a week for the other. So I kind of go back and forth. And so that's a Monday through Thursday thing of I work on our data and stuff like that. So usually in the spring semester, it's creating like executive reports and doing conference work. So making presentations and stuff like that from the data that we've collected in the fall and the summer.
Okay.
And so that's usually my day between around 9 and 2. Sometimes I'll take a nap if I want to. Our classes are in the evening if they are a concurrent class. And so on Mondays, I have a class at like at 4:50 right now. But usually our class is around 3:30 to 6 or 6 to 9. So depending on the semester, that can change. And then when I'm not in class, I usually try to de-stress with some TV or reading in the evenings. That's a typical day. And then meetings throughout, depending on the week.
Well, that's great. It looks like you have a really good balance between work and non-work, because that's
Yes.
usually the issue when being online. We've seen a lot of people like the burnout is kind of like the new word that everybody talks about, but that's due to not having limits between your private life and your working.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the big thing too is the screen, like being on the screen all day definitely gets to you. So I definitely putting breaks in there has helped a lot.
And so my last question is, how do you picture yourself in 5 years, or how do you want to picture yourself in 5 years?
So 5 years, I will definitely be done with my PhD, hoping to get that done in the next 2. And I kind of have 2 pathways that seem plausible right now. Either going the faculty route. I really love teaching and research and all of that. And that's definitely the kind of job that allows me to do all those things. So either that or going into institutional research or working for like a policy org. So it would be working with data relating to higher ed institutions and students and helping that influence policy and things like that, so that we can continue to help our students through actual initiatives within institutions.
Do you have a favorite one?
I lean more faculty because I love interacting with students. So that is definitely probably a top tier. It's also a bit harder to get into with getting tenure track and planning for those things. And so that's probably my number one is I would love to teach and actually be on campus and that kind of stuff. I love being at college. That's just one of the things. I study college. I love being at college. It's great. But if I couldn't, then probably an institutional research department or something like that is also still on campus. And so I think I would be able to really love that job as well.
Awesome. Well, I wish you good luck with everything. Happy baking. And I will see you around.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for having me.
Thank you.